When stationed in a great chariot yoked to white horses, Shri Krishna and Arjuna blew the celestial conches. As I said, this is the second part of the first chapter of the Gita. It's a very, very beautiful words, and they need to be understood properly. The first conch in the Kaurav army was blown by Bhishma, whereas in the Pandav army, the first conch was blown by Shri Krishna, Lord Krishna. And from where did he blow his conch? He blew his conch, if you looked at it, to a chariot. Vyasji has described it clearly, a great chariot yoked to white horses. The white colour symbolizes peace. Shri Krishna had not come into this war as a soldier. Vyasji is saying that Shri Krishna is participating in this war, but as a peacekeeping force. Shri Krishna promised at the beginning of the Mahabharata war, Duryodhana and Arjuna had come up to him. He said, you've got a choice. One of you will have my army, one of you will have me, but I won't fight. I'll just be an advisor. Duryodhana snatched that choice. He said, I want the first choice. He chose Krishna's army from Dwarka. Pandav chose Shri Krishna. So the Pandavas, hence the Kauravas have more people in the army. The Pandavas had Shri Krishna, but only as an advisor, as a charioteer to Arjuna. So Shri Krishna is participating in this war, but as a peacekeeping force. How is Shri Krishna fighting this war? He doesn't want this war. Shri Krishna never said he wants this war. He went to Duryodhana to negotiate. He went to negotiate peace with Duryodhana. He went all the way saying, Duryodhana, fair enough, you've got your kingdom here. To be honest, it actually belongs to the Pandavas. But we're being fair here. Let us just split it into half. You can have half, we can have half. Duryodhana says no. Those people who have gone into negotiation will see how annoying this is. Then Shri Krishna said, fair enough, if you don't want to split it into half, at least the Pandavas created that city of Indraprastha. That's their own city. They created it, give it to them. Duryodhana said no. Next stage, Shri Krishna offered many, many things. In the end, he goes, just give them 5 villages. If you give each of the Pandavas 1 village, brother, I'll promise you, I'll give you my word right now, there'll be no war. Duryodhana's reply is, even without war, I will not even give land to the equivalent of a needle's eye to the Pandavas. And Duryodhana wanted war. So it's when that war became an inevitable nuisance, then Shri Krishna, despite the several attempts to avoid war, I'm a devotee of Shri Krishna, I say I'm a lover of Shri Krishna, but I'll say right now that Shri Krishna, that was actually a failure of Shri Krishna. He went to that negotiation, tried to negotiate that truce, he came back empty-handed. This is God, this is person, he could have winked an eyebrow. Duryodhana would have been shattered to tears. Krishna showed Duryodhana his universal form, just like he showed to Arjuna. But that was Shri Krishna's failure, and I love Shri Krishna for that failure, because Shri Krishna came into the world as an incarnation of God, and as an incarnation, he has to set an example to people. There'll be many times in your life where you try your best, give it your best shot, but the circumstances are such, there's nothing you can do about it. You've done whatever you can. Shri Krishna left the palace with a smile on his face. He didn't want war. Shri Krishna never wanted war. He negotiated all he could. Duryodhana said, no, without war, I'll not give land equivalent to the size of a needle's eye to the Pandavas. And Shri Krishna came out empty-handed with a smile on his face. He went to Kunti, who's the Pandav's mother. He told her what happened. Kunti told Shri Krishna, tell my sons that the reason why a mother of warriors give birth, that day has come. Tell my sons to get ready, we're going to go into this war. Hence, Shri Krishna went as a peacekeeping force. The greatness of Shri Krishna, even though he was God, he showed that example to human beings to accept circumstances which are beyond your control sometimes. It wasn't actually beyond his control, but he did that to set an example. So Shri Krishna, despite these several attempts to avoid war, nothing's happened. Shri Krishna says, let it be. His message is of peace, and hence you have the white horses. Shri Krishna blows the first conch, and by this you can tell the mentality of the Pandavas. The war was not an ambition of the Pandavas. The war was not a major significance of the Pandavas, nor was it their wish. They were forced to come on this battlefield. According to, if you even look at military discipline, if you look at this is completely wrong by military discipline, because Bhishma blew the first conch of the Kauravas, so it should be Drishaduma, who's the commander of the Pandava army, blowing that first conch. But no, it's Shri Krishna here. And by military status, military discipline, Shri Krishna is Arjuna's charioteer. You ever see a war where a charioteer leads the way, leads the army? This is the lowest category of a status of a person in the war. whereas the charioteer, Shri Krishna, is blowing that first conch. He's not the commander-in-chief like Bhishma, he's a charioteer. This is not the Pandav's way of avoiding war, but it's the Pandav's way of showing that this war is a responsibility given to them by God. Therefore, Shri Krishna blew that first conch of the Pandavas. Observe also the name used for Shri Krishna. It's Madhav. Ma means goddess Lakshmi, and Dava means husband. Therefore, Madhav means the husband of the goddess Lakshmi, who is Shri Krishna. It's we mentioned last time the difference between Dhritarashtra, person who's held onto a kingdom that doesn't belong to him, Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra, a person who's lost everything. Dhritarashtra is the side of the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra is the side of the Pandavas. They've lost everything. So in one sense, the Pandavas have lost their kingdom, but at the same time, their Lakshmi, which is the goddess of wealth, their kingdom, their everything has been lost. But at the same time, they've been forced to come on the battlefield. When one has Shri Krishna's guidance, goddess Lakshmi, the wealth, comes straight away. That's why the word Madhav is used by Shri Krishna in this verse. Whenever in the Gita, the names of Shri Krishna and Arjuna are used, they're used with very, very much care, like a lot of care. And every time they'll come up, we'll go into this. Every time a new name comes up. So, despite the Pandavas losing their kingdom and wealth, everything they have, they've got Dharma Lakshmi sitting in the middle with them in a war because they're fighting a war for Dharma. Okay? For the Pandav, the war was a responsibility given to them by the Supreme Being. The Pandavas accepted saying this: we will accept whatever you do. If you tell us to stand on the battlefield, we'll go to the battlefield. If you tell us to go abroad, we'll go abroad. If you tell us to go to the forest, we'll go to the forest. Just tell us what to do, we'll do it. Thy will be done. Okay? That's why Madhav blows the first conch, and the Pandavas accept this. Okay, next verse.